Bam.
I'm Geoffrey Mark, and you're watching the Break It Down Show.
Hell yeah. This is what we do. We have great conversations with incredible people doing fascinating things, and Geoffrey certainly hits the mark. Hey, look at me being clever. Man, I love having you on the show, and I love the people that you talk about in your life in general and the way you connect all these different, elements of Hollywood together. We lose people along the way, right? Okay, so an actor, actress, performer, whoever it is, when they pass,
To your
but
help.
then we start to forget about how incredible they are. Maybe they become the butt of a joke, or maybe they just fade away. Like Gene Kelly is not as present as other former, alive performers are, right? Because it's just hard to stay relevant as the world moves on. And I think Ethel Merman is one of these people where we just have no idea what we lost when we lost Ethel Merman.
Well, because the people we remember, to address what you're talking about, the people we remember either were regulars on a television series, and we watched them, whether we watched them as a kid or we watched them on Nick at Night, or now we're watching them on streaming platforms.
Right.
Or they made movies you can't forget. Ethel Merman's big deal was Ethel Merman being on Broadway. The woman from 1930 to 1970 was in 15 hit Broadway musicals and introduced over 40 songs that became standards. And when I'm with young people and I mention her name first, they think I'm talking about Ethel Mertz from I Love Lucy. And I said, no, Ethel Merman. But as soon as I whistle or sing or hum, I got rhythm, or I get a kick out of you, or everything's coming up roses, or there's no business. Oh, that lady. Then it ding, ding, ding. It rings a bell for them. But yes, Merman should be among the pantheon of one of the greatest show business people ever. Yeah. But like Al Jolson and Fanny Brice and Eddie Cantor and other folks, she's been pushed out of the way. And it's a shame.
Yeah. And to be fair, there is just only so many room, and alive folks are absolutely entitled to their time in the spotlight too. We all have our time. I mean, one of my favorite things is Chicken Tetrazzini is named for a lady named Tetrazzini who loved, chicken tetrazzini before it was called that.
Right.
And she put on this wonderful live, almost impromptu performance in San Francisco, at a lamppost, right by a lamppost in downtown on Market Street.
Right.
And like just a fuck ton of people showed up for that. She was wildly famous. Nobody knows who that lady is. There's a little plaque there on Market Street. Anybody can read it. Nobody ever does. And so people do fade from memory. And thank goodness folks like you come along and say, hey, let's not forget that Ethel had this incredible life, and she gave us these great things.
As our host knows, but maybe you folks who are watching don't know, I've written a biography of Ethel Merman, the biggest star on Broadway. And it's a funny thing. The name of the book comes from Miss Merman did an episode of The Lucy Show. Not I Love Lucy, but the next series Miss Ball did after that. And she moves in with Lucy and Viv for reasons. Watch the show if you want to find out why.
Yeah.
But Lucy starts to complain when she's getting all the attention. Merman. You'd think she was the biggest star on Broadway. And Vivian goes, she is. And I took the name for the book from that. Nobody ever got it. About 4 or 5 months ago, a fan reached out. Did you name your book because of? I said, ding, ding, ding. You're the only one who figured it out. So hooray.
Yeah. The good news is you can watch this. This will be a little bit of ridiculousness, but I think you'll get this. I have been on Pluto, the streaming service, and I've been watching, and I'll get through every single one of them. I've been watching episodes of Flipper, because when you're a kid and you like to swim and you're in California, you cannot get enough of boats and scuba diving and intrigue and, like kids save thrillers. This is always someone getting trapped somewhere. And, like Baywatch is the progeny of a show like Flipper. And you learn things about swimming in the ocean from a show like Flipper.
But Flipper is a little ridiculous.
Oh, it's a lot ridiculous.
Because you have a man who's supposed to be about 35, who
Right.
is ridiculously good looking and well built,
Oh my gosh.
who has two sons who are handsome and hardly ever have their clothes on, and they live in the Florida Key. So a great show for women, gay men, and pedophiles so far. Then you have this dolphin or porpoise that understands every word you say to it. And you can tell it to go do 5 different things, and it understands. The kids never seem to go to school or do anything except play in the water. And single great-looking dad is never concerned with, like, we're allowed to use words on this show?
Yeah, whatever you want.
Yeah, he has no concern for getting laid. And but when you're a kid watching it, it is so much fun to look at. Because who doesn't love playing in the water? The realities of it when you grow up, it's like, ooh, why didn't they notice this when they were making it? But those of us who are baby boomers or Generation Xers, I guess, have a nostalgia for the old shows. And thanks to places like Pluto, we get to see them again. And it's still a lot of fun. And this sounds like grumpy old man talking. But when I was growing up, there were 3 networks, ABC, NBC, CBS. And if you live in a big town, big city, you had local channels. That's all there was. And you watched it when it was put on. And if you couldn't watch it at that hour, you missed it. But you know what? If we had an hour and I could just list the people, the enormously talented people who are on television every single week. Now we have 500 platforms and cable TV, and I don't see 1/10 of the talent.
Yeah, I've been exploring, so I'll watch a lot of talk showy type things in general, just to work on my own craft and what can I pick? Because if I'm not doing that, then I'm not doing my job, but I'll watch a lot of Carson and a lot of the talk shows, and you see night to night what comes on, and Carson's ability to not, like, I don't need a blue card. Let's repartee. Let's go back and forth. And they're doing old vaudeville bits, and they both know that, and neither one of them know going in, and they're doing these things. Then someone young will come in and doesn't know that, and Carson can handle all of it. It's amazing, his command of that.
Johnny's show was a lot more controlled than people seem to realize.
Is that true? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
It isn't that he couldn't be extemporaneous. Of course he could.
Yeah.
But he had questions, and he wanted the conversation to go in a certain direction because he instinctively, and with his intellect, he was a very intelligent man, very, very talented, very good looking, very charming, and a boyish, like a handsome young boy who says naughty things and he's saying it and gets away with it anyway. But tight control, he just had the ability to make everything look like it was coming off the top of his head. And like I said, sometimes it was. I did not have the thrill of being on Johnny's Tonight Show. I was on Jay Leno's Tonight Show as a guest. I sang. And very different approach to the show. Jay is an extraordinarily nice man who visits with you before the show. Johnny never talked to any of his guests before the show. And different personalities. Johnny saved it for the camera. Jay just spread the love around everywhere. Different personalities. And Jimmy Fallon, very different approach to the show. This version, the current version of the Tonight Show, completely controlled. The guests literally, they have a rehearsal of the interview. And the guests
what do you think about that compared to having
I think it's
anybody?
Boring. Because it's not spontaneous television. It is rehearsed within an inch of its life stuff. And as long as Jimmy retains that, again, that naughty boyish thing, as long as he can still look boyish and that twinkle in his eye, it carries, but it's not the same show. And it's not going to be fair to Jimmy, who's a talented man.
Of course.
Any show you take, and if you change the host or you change the writers or you change the producer or director, it becomes a different show. when I go all over the world performing, and I almost always do a question and answer session afterwards, whether I'm doing stand up or I'm singing jazz or I'm just interacting with the audience. Lucille Ball comes up, and other than annoying questions about her personal life that I won't answer, the most asked question I get is, how come the Lucy show and Here's Lucy weren't as funny as I Love Lucy? And I remind them, well, it's not the same show. I Love Lucy had a recipe. Well, let's take out Jess Oppenheimer, who was the creator and head writer and producer, and let's take out Desi Arnaz, who was a brilliant comedian and performer and was a genius in his head, who was the executive producer and who owned the cameras. And let's take out William Frawley, and let's take out her original writers, and let's take out William Asher, who was a dear, dear friend of mine, as director. It's a different show. And Miss Ball is 10 or 20 years older, and she can't do what she used to do. And her voice got deeper. It's a different show. You can't play the same character. At some point, it just changes.
Yeah.
Because it's
when you can't just be the same character your entire career too. That's extraordinarily hard to pull off for decades. You know, we don't want
Laurel
that.
and Hardy did it for a long time until they decided they were too old to do it. Abbott and Costello did it until health and egos got in the way.
But that is not the norm, though, right?
No, not at all. No, there are people. Milton Berle more or less played the public Milton Berle. I knew him. We were friends off camera, and he was a very different person off camera than he was on. But on camera, he was always that guy. And Miss Ball loved playing the Lucy character and wanted to stay with it. She was one of the very few people who didn't mind being typecast or pigeonholed. She felt it brought her this enormous audience, and she was happy to be doing it.
The Johnny show was national. It was required viewing, and I mean, I don't want to say everybody, but almost everybody was aware of it and watched it every night. And that's just like when you see the ratings for shows that we thought were like, secondary or tertiary, they would be a smash hit today. Like Fall Guy. Like I looked at, because I love Fall Guys. Again, look, I'm I was born in the 70s, so when Fall Guy happens, it's the perfect thing for me. And its shares were, it did all right. It was fine. But if it had that share today, people would be losing their minds over the Fall Guy, right?
Even more recently, about 21, 22 years ago, I co-wrote and co-produced a special for TLC called Inside Television's Greatest I Love Lucy. And it aired and it got a 1.6. And even 22 years ago, that was like, well, it's the biggest rating the channel ever got. But in comparison to network stuff, today, CBS, NBC, ABC, Fox, if you get a 1.6, they send you to the Caribbean on a free vacation to get that kind of a number. Then it was considered almost a flop because of the number. Show business, the business of show, constantly changes. And people like myself, I'm celebrating my 50th year in show business because I started as a kid. You have to change with the business. The business isn't going to work itself to suit you. You have to work yourself to fit it, or you don't work. So I've reinvented. I am literally a man of many hats.
Yeah. I guess where I'm going with this is there more risk for the Tonight Show today with Jimmy Fallon, and it's much smaller, but still prominent ratings, or was it back then when Johnny Carson had everyone's attention? Like which show has, and is it safer because everybody loved Johnny Carson and there was less, political division existed back then, but
John, you're comparing, to use a very old cliche, apples and oranges. Johnny's show was seen by between 10 and 20 million people every night. That's Johnny crazy. Carson's Tonight Show paid the bills for NBC do all the other stuff they did.
Yeah.
Johnny made fun of both sides of the political aisle. You never knew watching the show who he voted for or
Right.
whom he supported.
Right.
So yes, a controversy that would have killed that show would have been terrible for NBC. But the man did it for 30 years, and somehow that controversy never came up.
Yeah.
All kinds of folks were placed against him on other networks, and they all disappeared. All of them disappeared.
Yeah.
And likewise, when he put his money into something, right, like he allowed my friend Tom Snyder to do the Tomorrow Show after. Well, Tom became a huge star because he had the Tonight Show as his lead-in. Today, yes, I'm sure whoever owns NBC at this moment would hurt if there was no Tonight Show at that hour, but not very much.
Yeah.
Not very much. I mean, Jimmy would have to come on the show like drunk, take off his clothes and set himself on fire before it would do any real harm to NBC. So
Yeah.
the risk was more in Johnny's time. On the other hand, he was a lot more invulnerable than the young people who are doing shows today. One controversy, one you're caught off mic saying one bad word, you're done.
Yeah. Right.
So I think the risk is actually larger now. That's why these shows you're watching late at night on these networks are so controlled, because they can't risk a guest saying anything political or sexual, or heaven forfend someone calls their date a boy and they think you're a pedophile. Your whole career is over.
Yeah.
So I think there's actually more personal risk today.
And there's a lot more ubiquitousness of recording devices and everything else. And something can be clipped. Something can actually happen, be clipped into something and taken completely out of context. And there you have it, right? Like something may or may not be said. A single image can become something. And all of a sudden, more people than 23 million see that image or that 3-second clip. And boy, oh boy, judge, jury, and executioner come out. Right. So, yeah.
Show business is hard. Let me tell you, 50 years of doing this, it is an enormous roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
And I mean, happily so. I can't imagine what else I would have done all these years. I got, Miss Emmy sitting there. There she is.
There it is.
And a Grammy nomination on my wall, and a certificate of recognition from the California State Assembly, and a certificate of special congressional recognition from the United States Congress. What other business could I have gone into and received so much love from so many people?
Right. So 50 years in the business. I recently read one of the top biographies of Buster Keaton, and in some way you guys are peers and you overlap a little bit, but you're talking about these careers that completely map several eras of show business, and he starts out before there's really even any kind of film industry, goes all the way into modern color film. Wow. Like that's crazy. And look where you are now compared to like his path.
Well, I mean, I started off at 15. Now you know how old I am. Doing dinner theater, because my home life was scary and not good at all. And a friend took me to an audition because she was afraid my father would physically hurt me. Off he went, and they had no idea how old I was. They didn't care. I didn't have a picture. I didn't have a resume. I was greener than the greenest grass you've ever seen, but I got hired. The next year I made a film with Peter Fonda. The next year I was starring off-Broadway in a musical. The next year I was working at the Playboy Club. And obviously this life was meant for me, but I've done summer stock. I've done off-Broadway, one Broadway thing that didn't do too well. I've made some films that are not possible. One, my favorite year, and I have a teeny weeny little thing in my favorite year. The rest of the films I made are forgettable. I'm an actor, a clothed actor in 4 or 5 porn films made in the 70s, just for the work, just to get paid.
Just for the work.
I didn't do anything sexual. I was real cute when I was 18 and 19 and 20. I mean, real. I'm good looking and glamorous. For a guy my age, I look great. I thought you were 10 years younger than you are. You're a very handsome man. But when I was 18, 19, 20, I was gorgeous. I was a model.
Right.
That's another thing I did. I was a model. And as one ages and as one's life changes, I realized I can't just always do just the same thing. Sometimes it's an interesting thing. One gets great advice from someone who doesn't like you. They think they're giving you a jab, but they're actually doing you a favor. One was Bob Schiller was one of the original I Love Lucy writers. We were very close friends. His wife couldn't stand me. But she took me for a walk one day and said, Jeff, you've got to learn to reinvent yourself. Because you can't, the kind of parts you played when you were young, and completely reinvent yourself often. And you know what? It was the best advice I was ever given. The second best advice was from Rip Taylor. Do you remember Rip Taylor, the comedian?
Sure. Yeah.
Rip came to see me work in Los Angeles decades ago. And he said, let's go out to dinner. I want to talk to you. And we went out. And he gave me the bill, and it was the best money I ever spent. He said, Jeff, from my heart, you are magic on stage, but you dress like a fucking accountant, and sent me shopping to glamorize myself. And you know what happened? Yeah. My career went like this, because now I had a hook for myself. Oh yeah, he's that guy who always has a sparkly hat and always wears jewelry, and he's the glamour guy. Changed my life. Thank you, Rip, for his friendship, first of all, but for that one piece of advice, part of why I'm still working. So the people who think I do this is all I do, or I'm a big star, you have to come to me. Yeah, good luck with that. Because everybody gets older and everybody changes. And, did you start off your life hosting shows?
No. And I've had to evolve even how I do this, right? I've got some basic general rules and everything, but I used to be a spy, first of all. And I learned how to ask questions at a higher level than most people ever get to. And then you continue to do it and you get better and better at it, right? And
friends, Pete has just confessed to having been a spy when he was young. I knew nothing about this. Do not send me letters. FBI, do not come knocking on my door. I know nothing.
Schultz. Yeah. The whole progression, right? As you do your life and you sit down. Well, first of all, I got to ask was Rip always Rip? Was he ever acting? Or was that the guy we saw on whatever Gong Show, whatever thing we saw him in? Was that the same guy you have lunch with?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
One has to learn when meeting one's idols, and he was an idol for me.
Sure.
And when I try to answer this question, let's just talk about a few of the people who have helped me, who saw some talent and ambition and helped me.
Yeah.
But in Rip's case, no, he was a human being, a lot handsomer than his stage persona would let you think, a lot less confident than his stage persona would let you think.
Yeah.
He lived a very private personal life. It isn't that no one suspected he was gay, but Rip never came out and said it or told people he had a partner who was a lovely, lovely man. No, the Rip you spent time with, it was business, and meaning I don't mean we didn't have fun together, but discussing the business. It was very serious.
Right.
And very, the hard knocks, and Rip was a big star, and still, unfortunately, he was an investor in Debbie Reynolds' hotel and lost his ass there. So, and not because Debbie took advantage of him, just how things worked out.
That's how things worked out. Yeah.
So, no, very different. I don't know, but I've ever spent time with anybody who was just like their public persona. I think the only person I can point to and say, yeah, pretty much on and off, same guy, Steve Allen.
Okay.
Steve Allen, I'd go and spend time with him and we would laugh and we'd have deep intellectual discussions. I might just as well have been on any of his Steve Allen talk shows and been a guest, only instead of for 10 minutes, for 2 hours or 3 hours. And he found the world absurd and enjoyed the absurdities of it, even his own wife. I went to visit Steve in his office. Steve was lovely to me. He wrote a song about Ella Fitzgerald and let me use it in both of my books. And then he wrote the foreword to the Lucy book for me for free. Didn't charge me anything, because Steve Allen said to me, I admire your talent. I'm a fan. It's like, Steve Allen said that to me? No. It's supposed to be the other way around. I'm visiting with Steve, and he said, I can only talk for about 45 minutes. I have a really busy day today. I said, no problem. And the 45 minutes comes and goes, and I'm getting ready to leave, and ring, and he picks up the phone. And he puts the phone down and starts to giggle. Now, it takes a lot to make Steve Allen giggle. Yeah. I said, what is so funny? He said, well, Jane is here, and Jane isn't wearing any makeup, and Jane isn't wearing a wig, and you are not allowed to leave my office until she leaves the building, because she did not look like a star and did not want to be seen looking anything less than that. And it's like, here is this huge star, and I, whatever level I'm at, and we're stuck in his office because Jane was too vain to be seen, not looking like Jane Meadows,
Yeah. That's hilarious. When you get advice from someone like Rip or Steve or whoever it is, and all these people, they all have their thing, and maybe it's advice for you, or maybe it's advice that worked for them. Big shocker, Rip said, "Get more fabulous," right? And maybe that works for you. In this case, it did, but maybe that's their advice because it worked for them. How did you sort out? Because sometimes someone said something to you like, "Be more taciturn," or whatever it is, and you're like, "Yeah, I'm not doing that. That doesn't fit for me," right?
The people in show business, show business who were older than I, more famous than I, wealthier than I, possibly more talented than I, when those kind of people gave me advice, the list, like I told you, Lucille Ball, Milton Berle, Jack Carter, Peter Marshall, who was the original host of the Hollywood Squares, who at 98 is still with us. And I just saw him a couple of weeks ago at his house.
Amazing. Yeah.
Ella Fitzgerald, Mary Martin, Mary. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over. Never live on your laurels. Keep creating. Keep doing something new. She said, I love Ethel Merman. We're very close. And they were very close friends. But Ethel sings the same 6 songs in every concert she does for the last 20 years. She said it would drive me out of my mind if I had just repeated the same things over and over.
Sure.
The only time I've gotten bad advice, Don Wells, dear friend from Gilligan's Island, gave me wonderful advice, is when you come across people who are your peers and are jealous of you. Then they're going to give you advice that's not good because they want to trip you a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the wrong hair color. Oh, you shouldn't wear the sparkles. See?
Yeah.
Oh, you shouldn't take attention away from me. That advice, I just go, well, nice knowing you. Thank you for playing our game. There's Lee Press-On nails on your way out. And goodbye till next time. No, I've never been misled that way by people. Because I think what I bring to the table, and this is going to sound egocentric, but I'm trying to be from the outside looking in.
Yeah.
I'm really smart. My IQ is 163. I did nothing to deserve that. I was born that way. It's a genius IQ, right?
Yep.
I didn't earn it. It came with.
Right.
I'm very talented. I just am. And again, I've done nothing to deserve that.
Right.
God's gift.
Yeah.
I'm good looking. Even at this age, I'm good looking. And I own that now. I was
Yeah.
terribly insecure when I was young and gorgeous.
Yeah.
You know, I'll show you some of my modeling photos sometime. You'll go,
Yeah.
hey, I would date that guy.
He's hot. Yeah.
Yeah. But they saw my burning ambition, my desire to do hard work, and I took their advice. They weren't wasting their time with me. I have young people hitting me up all the time to help them. Oh, I don't have time to meet with you. Oh, you want me to learn a monologue? Can't you just put me in a show? It's like, you have to learn your craft. If you don't have the time or the energy or the gumption to learn your craft, I can't help you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
that's true.
If you have all those things, I will help you like I have been helped. I pass it forward.
Yeah.
The people who have helped me are either gone or they don't need my help anymore.
Right.
So I pass it forward, and happily so.
Yeah.
You know, I could not have done all I've done just on my own, flying blindly. People saw the spark in me. And I've asked my publicist, Harlan Bowl, best publicist in the whole world, and one of my closest friends, why do you think all these years people have been so nice to me? And I thought I'd hear about my talent or my intellect. Or he said, Geoffrey, do you not understand how nice you are? Do you not understand that people see the love just beaming out of you and respond to that? And you know what? Now this is Jeff talking. I never thought of it that way. I'm just being me. Yeah. But if I'm being perceived as radiating love, I am so pleased. So pleased.
Yeah. That's just a second on Harlan. I adore Harlan too. And, I'm slowly getting to know him better and better. And we've known each other for several years now. But I can't get enough of him. I never want too much of him because I know how busy he is and everything else. Yeah. But I think the world of him. And I just hope I continue to work with him because it's just a thrill. And it's one of the best things that my show has ever given me is the chance to get to know him and all the people associated with him. I'm thrilled about it. And so
Harlan Bowl, that's who we're talking about, folks.
Yeah.
Is I think the best publicist in Hollywood. But he is maybe the most ethical man in Hollywood. He doesn't do bullshit publicity. He doesn't look for dramatic things to make up about his clients. His clients stand on their talent and their availability and their desire to do shows like this. I'm a ham. I've probably got it. I was just looking at my calendar before we came on. 20 more shows in the next 3 weeks I'm booked on.
Right. Yeah.
I love it. When I used to work on cruise ships, you're booked for one show, but you're on the cruise for 10 days or something. I would do a show every day.
Yeah.
I love to perform for people. I love making people happy. I love making them laugh. I love singing to them and maybe, helping heal a little bit of heartbreak.
Yeah.
And I like the spotlight, this microphone here, put a microphone in my hand and get out of my way. Because Geoffrey Mark is here.
Speaking of Geoffrey Mark being here, he's on our show and he's got these fabulous books. And this is just, again, 50 years in show business. So we're going to understand this. But Ethel Merman, there's the link for that right down below. He's got his Lucille Ball book. You can see that. That's right down there. And we're just kind of getting started here. There's also the Ella Fitzgerald book. We haven't even talked about that yet. All the links there, they're in the remarks. Or you just type it into whatever book search engine you look for, and you're going to find these things. You know what I always say? Buddy read. Buy 2, send it to a friend. It's a great gift. And these are wonderful people. And come on, who doesn't want to read about Lucille Ball? So do yourself a favor and get some of Geoffrey's books because you're going to love that. I wanted to ask you, radio, I've done some radio myself. Radio is different than, say, TV. It's
Oh, sure.
certainly different than live audiences. How do you change who you are? Like, are you just getting into a lather when you're on radio? And are you physically moving around like you do on stage? Or do you have
Well,
is it a different set of tools?
on
Yeah.
radio, like you'll notice my mic, you can't see it. I'll bring it up into frame. My mic is
Yeah.
on a stand here. Okay.
Right.
When I do radio, I don't touch the mic
Right.
because if you move it, it makes a noise. And if
Right.
it's not in the same place, your vocal quality changes in and out. And it
Right.
makes for a technically bad show. So I leave the
Right.
mic alone. I know how to sit. I know just how far from this particular mic where I sound great.
Right.
Do I gesticulate when I talk? Probably so. I probably do it because it brings life to my voice.
Right.
Again, I have a great voice for radio. Thank you, God, one more time. When I'm on stage, I'm like a tiger. I move all around because I don't believe in just standing still. I don't, with the exception of maybe I'm doing a benefit or something where I've got special lyrics and I'll have them on cue cards, that I hold in my hand. But when I'm
Right.
doing a concert or a nightclub gig, I don't ever have a music stand with the lyrics in front of me. I'm performing to the audience, not to the music stand. And
Right.
like just now, I saw myself do this. I'm covering my face. Don't do that on television. They came to see this. No,
Yeah.
meaning it's technically bad television. So yes, they're working in a nightclub and singing, for instance, is very different than being in a musical on stage. You're working in a nightclub, hopefully no less than 50 people, sometimes hundreds of people. On a
Right.
stage where you're doing a musical or a benefit, you're playing to
Yeah.
1,200 or 1,500 people. The largest audience I've ever had was in I want to say 1977 or 78.
Mm.
And it was for Gay Pride in New York. I was very young. And I sang There's No Business Like Show Business to 150,000 people. And it was done in Greenwich Village on the water. And they had these great big speakers. And I was told by people in New Jersey that they could hear me singing because of the speakers.
Wow.
And again, I had to play it very, very differently outdoors
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
indoors. So every medium, every place you work is different. Writing a book is different than writing a magazine article, which is both different than my talking to you.
Right.
I think I'm a good writer. I hope so. I'm a best-selling one. I guess somebody likes my work out there somewhere. But everything I do so that I'm not bored, first and foremost. You're not bored.
Right.
And I'm a natural born showman. A showman is like someone who knows how to really entertain an audience. I think I'm one of those people. Not every actor is, or not every actor has to be. I just happen to be. This is so, jazz singer, stand-up comedian, author, writer, radio show host, television host, producer. I wear lots of hats.
Yeah.
I wear red for you today. I have a closet filled with sequined things and jewelry.
Yeah.
So that you can see I'm here.
When you and existing, right? Like that's one of the big things in having some kind of a brand, so that when you do your version of something, that you do stick out. It is like having the right logo that works, and we all remember. Oh yeah, that's right. That's Geoffrey. We remember him. So all of that stuff goes together. It is part of the branding.
It's a lovely thing to hear something like the next thing I'm going to say. Last year, a birthday party was thrown for me. And my friends are mostly other celebrities. It's just how it is because of what I do for a living.
They're your peers.
And Randy West, the great game show announcer, was one of the people. And I sang. I put on a show for about 20 minutes. And Randy came to me afterwards when I put down the mic and we were going to cut cake. He said, "Is there anything you can't do well?"
Yeah.
What a great compliment.
What a compliment. Yeah. Would be old enough to accept that compliment in its full meaning and value.
Wow. I don't think anyone's ever asked me that. It's a great question.
Yes.
Pete scores. But I have a feeling
Love
I
it.
have a feeling Pete scores a lot.
I do. I like to ask great questions.
Oh yeah, and questions also. You stepped on my laugh. Well, a piece of the puzzle, and I'm happy to share this. This is not a secret. I'm 35 years clean and sober.
Yeah.
And not until I got clean and sober, I always had confidence in my talent. And I knew I was smart, but just about everything else, I had like just no self-confidence. It's terrible.
Right.
I got clean and sober 35 years ago. When people started calling me a star, and I didn't argue with them. Now, I don't refer to myself as a star. A celebrity, certainly. But that, some people think of me as a star and an icon in show business, a goat in show business, because I've been around so long. Probably in my late 30s was the first time I started going, all right, I'm not going to argue compliments anymore. I'm going to say thank you. Because that's what they want to hear. They want me to thank them for a lovely compliment, not deflect the compliment. That kind of makes what they said meaningless to them. And nobody wants to hear that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am. I have won awards. I am known all over the world. I'm not a household name, but I am known all over the world. If I leave my house, and I always have this kind of stuff on, Dawn Wells, Marianne from Gilligan's Island, yelled at me one day, came to her house with Chinese food, taken just to hang out, the two of us. She had her hair in a ponytail and was wearing a long t-shirt and nothing else. We were very good friends. And I walk in with the food and she starts yelling at me, "What's this? What's this?" I said, "What's what?" She said, "The way you're dressed." I said, "I'm at least wearing clothes. You're in a t-shirt." She said, "You left your house not looking like a celebrity." I said, "What would you want me to do?" She said, "Always have a sparkly hat on when you leave your house. Always have a piece of jewelry on when you leave your house. Always have a sparkly jacket, vest, scarf, something. And you've got beautiful eyes, but they're little beady eyes. Put a little mascara on, not dark mascara, light mascara, to open your eyes up so people can see how handsome you are." So I've taken that advice and it works, because she said the one time you go out looking like shit is the time that someone's going to go click, 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 and your face will be on the National Enquirer.
Yeah.
Which it has 3 times in all these years. And I took that as a huge compliment. So wherever I go, if I go to a bank, I don't wait online. Not because I ask for that. It's a courtesy given. I go to restaurants, I don't wait for a table.
Sure.
Again, not ever a demand on my part. I would never, let me skip the line. Never. But it's offered out of respect. Right. And, if I go to Walmart, people come up to me and talk, and I'm thrilled to know that I brightened someone's day. It's like, all right, then this day was worth it. I brightened, even if it's just how I look. And I'll have people go up, "I was having such a shitty day, and you walked in full of sunshine and sparkle. You've changed my day." Good for me and good for them. It's part of why I think I was put on this planet. To give people.
I was considered a great day if I can make someone's day. And so I make an effort to try to do that, pay that compliment out there, whatever it is, but also to receive that compliment that comes in and let them know, like, "Hey, you made my day. Thank you for that." And really, because it's easy to say like, "Oh, thanks, I appreciate that," and just kind of brush the compliment off by receiving it, but like really receive it well and let them know, like, "I heard that. That made me feel good. And I'm going to be smiling the rest of the day." That kind of just elan with the reception of those things. That person wants to be, they want to make someone's day. And just those little elegances that you can add as you get older in life,
I
they
try
add
to
up.
be, I try to have those. It's a great phrase, by the way. Those little
Hmm.
elegances. I try to be an elegant person. I try to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether I succeed or not is another story. Hey, do we have time to play Plugorama? We
Sure. I
play
don't mean if that is, we're
Plugorama?
both playing.
Let's
Let's do
play
it.
Plugorama. All righty.
Okay.
So I have my weekly show, Geoffrey Mark Plays Ella, that's
Okay.
heard on stations on Real Radio. And also it's a podcast on every platform you can think of. It's audio only, it's not video. All right. I will be having, I think at the end of the summer, it starts, The World of Geoffrey Mark, where I'll be telling stories and interviewing only my friends who are celebrities. Not getting the late, but like people who I have dinner with and having them on and having a conversation. The new Lucy book, the original Lucy book, was about her television career. This is about everything: her radio show, her shows, her films, her television. It has a new foreword by Fran Drescher and new interviews with all kinds of people. That's coming out next year. My memoirs, The Devil Was Born in Brooklyn, is coming out next year. And this summer, I'll be on as much radio and television as you people can stand. And hopefully, if I'm singing or doing stand-up in your neighborhood, you'll come out and spend a couple of dollars on me, because I'd spend a couple of dollars on you if you entertain me. I
love that.
Yeah, I want lots of money. So show up for things. You see Geoffrey Mark in, come out for that, because I need that kind of money. And I will be at the Hollywood Museum on the 23rd, I believe, a Tuesday. It's the 22nd or 23rd off the top of my head. As the Hollywood Museum celebrates Gay Pride, I'm one of the celebrities who might be there. I'll be there. But please support the Hollywood Museum. It's very important to me as a place. The Donnell Dadigan, who owns it and curates it, one of the most powerful women in Hollywood and one of the nicest. And I promise, if you go to the Hollywood Museum, you will not have a bad time. You will have a wonderful time. It's amazing. We have a couple of people, while we're doing this, there are people who are leaving comments here. John Leon Guerrero, thank you. If it works for you, that's fine. But if you're just watching and listening and you're a fan, thank you so much. Yeah. And Jill Cohen, I saw your note. Hi, Jill. And happy at someone. I went to high school and junior high school with Jill. So I'm happy that she's watching and is part of the show.
Yeah, that's all of those things are great. And the seconding the Hollywood Museum thing, I'm working on trying to get Danielle on the show, and it's all a matter of just scheduling and whatnot. But if you happen to be trying to visit LA and you're like, what can we do? Man, go to the Hollywood Museum, because you were going to see 1,000 things. You're like, oh man, look at that. I didn't realize, and it's full of.
The museum is in the old Max Factor building, which is on the corner of Hollywood Boulevard and Highland. In the same building is Mel's Diner. You've all seen that in films. Well, it's right there, but you just walk to Hollywood Boulevard. You're on the same block with Grauman's Chinese Theater and all the footprints of the cement. You're on the same block with the El Capitan Theater, with Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum. And then from all the way down to Musso and Frank's, the oldest restaurant in Hollywood since, I believe, 1917, and some of the best food you'll ever eat. You can't go wrong going there. And there's parking. There's parking right there. It costs money, but there's parking right there. You can drive right to it, park, and you'll have a gay old time, Wilma. You'll enjoy yourselves.
That all of that stuff is great. When people want to look into the books that are coming in the future, what's the best resource for that? How do they go to the website? Where do they go?
Well, you can find me on Facebook, just GeoffreyMark. Instagram, it's Geoffrey Mark Showbiz. On X, it's @Geoffrey Mark. I'm findable.
At
And
Geoffrey Mark.
if you really want to book me or like find stuff out, Harlan Boll, Boll, is my publicist, and he's easy to find,
Yeah.
and he'll answer your questions.
Yeah, that's great. That's all of this stuff is great. You've been such a great guest. I don't want to take too much more of your time. But if there's anything else you want to ask me or anything else you want to cover, let's do it. But otherwise, man, I really appreciate it. We didn't talk about Ella. Can we talk about Ella for a couple minutes here before we
As
wrap
long
this
as you
up?
want. It's not unusual that I stay longer than I was asked for, because
Well, good. Yeah, I got a few
I'm
minutes.
just so darn good at this. I was very lucky that I got to know Ella. I actually worked for her a little bit at the end of her career. One of the hallmarks of seeing Ella live in concert is that she never did the same show twice. Mr. Sinatra, Miss Streisand, Mr. Bennett would go out on a tour and they'd sing the same, 12, 14, 15, 16 songs. Ella got bored doing that. And she didn't want to be bored, and she didn't want to bore you out there who were watching and who paid good money to come see her. So she had about 300 arrangements that she traveled with, and could sing any of them at any given time. As she got older, as her diabetes really began to kick her ass, then she had a toe amputated, and then she got triple bypass heart surgery, and she still worked. Nothing held her back. But she was singing the same songs over and over. So I made playlists for her of things that I knew they were arrangements she could still handle, leaving out arrangements of things that I thought were beyond what her voice could do anymore. Because she had gotten a new musical director, a very lovely man, talented man, but he didn't know her book. He didn't know what was in there he could pull out for her. And so I helped with that. And that's why I was so good at with her CDs. When people would ask me to come in and choose the songs and sequence them and then write album notes for them, I could almost speak for her because I knew instinctively just how she would do it. That's how I got nominated for a Grammy Award for doing that. A huge compliment to me. Ella was... her first 20 years were on what was called Decca Records. And she left Decca after 20 years. But Decca kept re-releasing and re-releasing and re-releasing. She never made an actual album, an LP 33 1/3. She made 78s, just one song at a time. But they would release them as albums, and then but no CDs, because Ella sued them for not paying her for all those things. They settled the lawsuit. I got a phone call. Hey, Ella settled the lawsuit with Decca. We're putting together a 4 CD, great big boxed set. And I need someone to write the album notes, choose the songs, and sequence them. He said, I called 10 people in the music business who I should hire, and all 10 of them gave me your name and phone number. And for that work, along with my friend Jim Gavin, who wrote half the album notes, because the booklet is like almost 100 pages long. And I didn't want to write another 100 pages about her. But so we were nominated for a Grammy Award for that. And very, 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 very proud of it. So I have written 2 books about Ella. So more recently, since she passed away, I wrote... I didn't lie in the first book. I just didn't tell the whole truth. In the second book, I tell the whole truth. And the Ella Fitzgerald Foundation is out there and needs your support. And they've been very, very good to me. It's a wonderful, wonderful charity. So, please, the Ella Fitzgerald Foundation, reach out to them. If you've got a couple of bucks, send it their way. They could use it.
What a remarkable life you've led so far. And you're just getting going, I mean, you're doing incredible things. It's just great. Like, you've got 2 books coming out next year and ready to go on a cruise ship at the drop of a hat and go do some dinner theater or whatever it is. I love it, man. It's been a real treat getting to know you. And I hope you come back and let's do some more.
I will come back, Pete, as often as you'll have me.
All right.
And we live about 100 miles away from each other. We're going to have to meet sometime and have a meal. And
love to.
That's my request. If I have any questions of you, is that let's meet. And you're a great guy, a good host, and you're very good looking.
I love it. Thank you. You made my day. All right, let me roll these credits and right back to you.
Win-win.
Win-win. All right, I'll be right back. Hey, thanks for watching the show. I really appreciate it. Right here, you can subscribe. Please do that. It makes the show grow. Hit that notification bell so you know which incredible guest is coming up next. Down below is the PayPal link. You can put a small subscription in. That is an enormous help. All that money goes right back into the show. And then right up over here are the next episodes you should listen to, curated by yours truly. Thank you.